Good evening, everyone. There we go. I lost my voice already. There you go. That's just the indicator of how tonight's going to go. It is July 4th. Now, I just saw a really cute meme, and of course, it's just blanked out of my head, and I was going to actually use it as my opening line. And it was like the British flag, and it was like, Happy Insurrection Day, or something like that, to all the Americans type thing. Another strange week. Another very, very strange week. Before I get in on the deep fucking topic we're going to run down, because Ben's not going to let me let it go. I'm so brain fried tonight. I'm so tired. I wanted to talk like cooking. I don't know, like just really, really, really fluff kind of shit, but Ben's not going to let me. So blame him. Before we get started though, so a couple of things I wanted to say. So the movie this week has been chosen by everyone, apparently resoundingly. This Sunday, which is July 8th, the Unfucker movie is going to be Jupiter Ascending. And so we'll have the link up for that. Leading into that, the Unfuckers Unite video library has been created. So you can go into the video movies. All the movies that we've watched as a group are already loaded into the library. So you can go back and watch them. If you missed them, I'm going to have Jupiter Ascending loaded in advance. So if there's anyone who can't make it to watch live with us, it'll be there. You can watch it yourself whenever you feel like. So the library's done, the video library. To be expanded. I'm really hoping that we can upload a shit ton of stuff. And I think, John, I think you sent you a message earlier. We're going to have to get a pro account. And it's like $9.95 a month, and we're just going to have to suck it up. That gives us 4 terabytes, I think. 4 terabytes? So we can put a lot of fucking movies and shit up on that. So the movie library's done, or started. Anyways, it has been begun. And the Unfuckers Unite recipe lab has been built today. I finally got it up and running. John got it built like fucking a month ago, and I haven't had a chance to get it formalized. So all those awesome cooking recipes that I thought we could talk about tonight, but I'm not going to be allowed to, go in there, put in your favorite recipes. I entered my one right off the top of my head, my granola bar recipe. I've put that in there because everyone's addicted to those. Ben can help out there. He's going to write up a recipe for how to barbecue wallaby. Right, Ben? Just so all the haters will hate, right? Barbecue wallaby, no! It's actually really good. And Deb, I'm going to call on you. You got to get in there and feel. I'll sit down, pull out my recipes, and I'll start pumping in a bunch of my stuff out of the top of my head, the stuff that I do regularly. Skippy stew. Yes, that's apparently what Ben had for dinner tonight. So that library, the recipes section is all up and running. That's awesome and good. Okay, so too soon. Shit, it's too soon. Don't talk about Skippy stew. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in. I had a head day yesterday, one of those where your head starts to explode when you start taking in too much fucking information and start making connections on stuff. I talked to Ann at like midnight last night. Ann, you got time to talk? No, really, you got to come talk to me right now. I got to talk you through this shit. Help me. Ben wasn't around. I couldn't assault him over the Zoom. So last week we talked about jet lag. And we talked about the physical effects of jet lag. This week, I want to take it a step farther. And I'm going to have to meander through this because I really, really am seriously fucking brain dead tonight. Half the shit that I talked about yesterday seems to have already vanished from my head, so I may have to kind of go at this from roundabout cycles. I want to talk about solar radiation and galactic cosmic rays. And we're going to come at this from a little bit of a different angle. I kind of have come to my own. Hold on. I have a very severe case of the at-homes. I kind of have my own kind of quasi-conclusion. No, I won't say it's a conclusion because it's definitely not concluded, but let's just say I'm building a hypothesis in my own head. And whether or not I'll actually vocalize this out loud tonight is highly debatable, but because I don't want to get lynch mob when I say it. We had the conversation. It was so funny the way this week played out. We had the conversation Wednesday night about the jet lag, and we talked about the symptoms of jet lag. We talked about our circadian rhythms, etc. Now, the next day, I was out in the sun all day, and I got a sunburn because I'm stupid and I wasn't paying really much attention. Not a bad because I don't get badly sunburned, but not a bad burn. But it was the strangest sunburn I've ever had. Now, there's two things of note. One was you get it on the typical places, your shoulders, your upper back, my lower back, down the cleavage, of course. It didn't hurt. It really didn't hurt hardly at all. Like you could come up and slap me. It wasn't like it was sore, but it itched. The itch was, we are now literally 7 days later. My skin in the places that were burnt still itches so badly that I have a metal architect's ruler that I've been using to scratch my back with. And I'm pretty sure that I look like I've been like self-flagellation, probably what it looks like on my back. Intense itch. And I was like, I've never had a sunburn like this. We started going off on a conversation, and I can't even possibly reiterate it, Nick and I, yesterday, because it went on for several hours. We know right now that the Earth's magnetic field is weakening. That's what we're being told. As due to the solar minimum, and now what we look at is probably going to be the grand solar minimum that we're in, that the magnetic shielding, if you will, around Earth is purportedly weakening radically. Due to that, much, much more cosmic radiation is incoming. Now, we're looking at a chicken and an egg effect here, and I can't get a straight answer. Now, before Ben says anything, I'm going to say, yeah, we know it's all bullshit. We know a good portion of the science is fucking bullshit. We know that half these guys make this shit up, or it's all based on fucking theory. So, taking that aside, I'm going to give you the pieces that I'm putting together. We know, and we've talked about this before, that there's a major influx of highly charged, sorry guys, I don't know why I've got a serious frog in my throat tonight. Highly charged cosmic particles coming in. Particles, waves, whatever you want to call it. Now, we know that was talked about years ago. There was the Russian physicist was talking about it in 1998. So as far back as literally 20 years ago, they knew this was coming. They knew this was happening. So I don't buy entirely into the theory when they try to say things like, hold on, guys. There we go. When they try to say that it's the lessening of the Earth's magnetic field that is allowing all these cosmic rays to come in, I don't necessarily buy this. Because, like I said, they knew that there was going to be this, obviously, this massive influx of charged particles coming into our general vicinity 20 years ago. Okay, now, the really interesting thing is I went through all of this yesterday morning. I woke up this morning and there's an article talking about Thule, Greenland has just recorded the largest spike in cosmic radiation, galactic cosmic radiation, ever seen before and ever measured before. And it just happened. And Suspicious Observers did a really good video this morning on it. I watched it. It's a 4-hour video, 4-minute video. And I will actually put the link in here with this because he talks about this reading and what was seen. He also talks about a video that he did back in February of this year that gives a more roundabout explanation of cosmic radiation, galactic particles, etc., what they are, how it works, kind of thing. And the video is actually quite good. I don't necessarily agree with all of his conclusions, but he really does give a nice, it's like 57 minutes long, but it gives a really good condensed piece of information. I started thinking yesterday. I started questioning all this fucking information that we have. And it comes down to what we are seeing right now. Again, when you talk about people being sick, people being continuously sick. Now, Anne and I had conversations back in November of last year when we were taking all the symptoms and we were listing them all out and trying to create some kind of a basis point to work from of what this sickness was that everyone was experiencing that was lasting for weeks. And the one thing Anne kept saying was, it keeps coming up as like radiation and radiation poisoning. So we went through last night, Anne and I, that's why I called Anne at midnight, and we were looking at the provings for various forms of radiation. And when you read them, it's kind of like when you sit there and go like, holy shit, this is all shit that we're talking about. The headaches, the dizziness, the feeling completely off center and off balance, right? And I started to hypothesize. Because one of the things we talked about with the jet lag, well, jet lag only started happening when jets were invented. Because of course, until these massive jets that could fly 10, 12, 14 hours, people didn't experience jet lag because trips were taken in little pieces like this, and your body never got slammed with this crossing 10 time zones all at the same time. Now, the interesting thing is also, those old planes flew much lower. So one of the questions I came up with is the fact that we know airline pilots, stewardesses, anyone who flies regularly takes a massive hit of cosmic energy when you fly, because when you get at 33,000 feet, you are getting bombarded, so they say, with all these different types of energies, X-rays, ultraviolets, etc. And if you get caught during a solar flare, etc., it can be magnitudes worse. So one of my things I started looking at is one of the reasons that we experience jet lag, on top of the circadian rhythm things, is it radiation? i.e. you've been up in the air flying for 6 hours, 10 hours, and you are taking in all this amount of radiation. And it's interesting because, back what would it have been, 2011, David Wilcock put out a really, really good video, back when he was putting out really good videos. And he was talking about cosmic particles, cosmic energy, and he was talking about the difference between the Americans and the Chinese did the same experiment. And they both sent up into space seeds, and they exposed them to the cosmic rays, the cosmic particles, the solar winds, etc. And they wanted to test what effect it would have on the seeds. And the Americans came back down and they planted their seeds and grew them, and there was nothing. They didn't have much of a noticeable difference at all. The Chinese, on the other hand, came back down and they grew ridiculous. Like they were like zucchinis that were this big, pumpkins that were this big, astronomical fruits and vegetables. And he hypothesized then, it was the fact that Americans used aluminum. They shielded all their stuff with aluminum. The Chinese didn't. So therefore, the aluminum shielded the vast majority of the cosmic rays. The Chinese didn't, and these fruit and veg. Now, one of the things that came up in a conversation that I had again 2 days ago, and then someone else talked about it in the UnFuckIt group, and I can't remember who it was, fruits and vegetables are growing much too fast right now. I talked about it last summer, with my friend who's the farmer who I buy all my produce from. They almost lost several crops last summer because you've got fields and fields, and you know that your watermelons are going to be ready the second week of August, and she just happened to walk by the field 3 weeks earlier, and they were so ripe they were just about ready to explode. They were ripened 3 weeks early, and she was like, "Doesn't fucking happen. Never fucking happens. Can't fucking happen." Like, we know our plants. Like, we've been doing this for fucking generations. We know exactly how long it takes to grow a watermelon. Apparently in the States it's happening right now. And I got a friend of mine in Canada who just harvested fucking shit and going, "There's no possible way this shit can be ready to harvest already. It's like 3-4 weeks early." So we have all of these little symptoms. We have this discussion that we had about the sun, and the sun feels different. Like, it burns. When you get out in the sun, you can feel it's a prickly burn. But not all the time, which is what keeps throwing me off. Is why is it you can go out one day in the sun and get absolutely nothing, and you can go out the next day and literally get fried to a crisp. And that especially was noticeable here during the winter. In the summer, the sun is hot, But when you get into the winter out and into the less warm climates, and Emily Amoye and I had a conversation back in February, I think, on a deep immersion, and we talked about this, and she said she'd go out running 10 kilometers one day, not get a single speck of sun. Not even though it was a blue sky, sun's out, not a speck on her skin. And go out 2 days later, run 10 kilometers and come back and be like literally burnt. Why? So I'm beginning to wonder, is we are experiencing this massive amount of radiation coming in. Frequencies can cancel frequencies, right? I mean, this is something that we talk about. We talk about, when we talk about the 5G stuff, what frequencies can we put out to cancel out their frequencies, etc. And I hypothesized this to Nick, and I said, we know that the entire planet is vitamin D deficient right now. And it don't matter if you live on the fucking equator or you live in Alaska. Everyone is vitamin D deficient on a magnitude that's just ridiculous. And yet for me, and I show plenty of symptoms of vitamin D deficiency, I'm out in the sun all the time. I'm out in the sun all year round. There should be no reason for it, except the ultraviolet rays that trigger vitamin D production in your skin is UVB radiation. So the UVB light is the frequency, if you will, that triggers vitamin D. And I hypothesized yesterday, I said, what if there's a new form of energy coming in and it is neutralizing the vitamin D, i.e. canceling it out, so that therefore our skin is not getting the vitamin D. Okay, yes, Ben, before you explode.
Just so I can jump in here so that we can get a bit of cooking in. You know that, well, vitamin C is depleted when heat is added.
Yes.
Right? So, like, cacao is very, 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 very high in vitamin C. Chocolate, however,
is not, because it's been cooked out of it.
Right. So we're also experiencing a temperature change on the globe, right?
But it doesn't explain, because here's the thing, and because I've looked at that, Ben, I actually did, and that was one of the things, the devil's advocate that I was playing to myself last night, because it doesn't matter spring, summer, winter, fall.
Exactly.
The vitamin Ds are down. So if it was just a matter of 40 degrees Celsius is too hot, and
no, but I'm not necessarily saying like 40 degrees is too hot. What I'm saying is, remember, so degrees, numbers, volume, wavelength, same. Positive, negative, south, north, same. So we are witnessing we know the sun's changed, so the light has changed. That might all it be, right? So that might all it be. But the other thing is, it's funny because we've been talking about fire and oxygen and da-da-da-da, and Anne's been talking about the magnetic stuff and looking at ozone.
Yeah.
So you've got oxygen, which is O, you've got fire, which is O2, and then you have ozone, which is O3, which are the first 3 steps of the Fibonacci. 1, 2, 3. And what I mean is you put 2 oxygens, 1 and 1, which is the first 2 numbers, is 2, and then 1 and 2 is 3. So what if the ozone filter itself is the radiation barrier, the ozone? So we're noticing water's depleting, so oxygen is possibly depleting on the planet, and therefore the O3 barrier is doing what you're saying. The atmosphere is not enough pressure to consolidate vitamin D.
Or is not thick enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and that's one of the things that Nick and I talked about was the fact of Cliff High talked about how back, I can't remember when he said now, that a certain section of our atmosphere was stripped off.
Yeah.
Okay,
and that's
so let's say if the atmosphere between this point and this point is usually this much, and all of a sudden it's this much, you have that much less of a filter to filter off all these frequencies or to change them into something that is, for example, usable, i.e. for us to produce vitamin D. Does that make sense?
What can Jerry explain? That may be their story, however, don't buy it. I think the convergence creates a third wave at a 90-degree angle or so that it is hidden. Anyway. Oh, there. Or create the ozone when oxygen and nitrogen touch it. Well, see, all you need is H2O and electricity. You don't need anything else. You don't need the nitrogen. Well, depending on whether that is the atmosphere in which it needs to be created.
Yes.
And we know that nitrogen is like fucking 70% of everything.
Yeah.
All right. Because like that's one of these things is like, you know, back in the, well, fucking forever, that was the thing with electrolysis, is they were trying to find the right kinds of water to create and split hydrogen out of it. And then, of course, if you've ever done electrolysis, you get that smell like in lightning, which is ozone.
Exactly. It's like ozone. It's like, I smell thunderstorm.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right, but couldn't the magnetosphere be creating ozone, be creating that ozone layer instead of it being some kind of protective layer? Maybe it's a result. Maybe it's
okay, so
effect.
Yeah, totally. But magnetism is the effect of electrical charge, essentially, or energy. And magnetism is basically where that energy wavelength finds its 0 point. And the magnet itself stores the 0 point. So what it's doing...
That's Ken's theory, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's not really a theory. That's the whole thing.
No, I've been following him. I totally get that.
Yeah. Well, I'm working with people, like I was saying to Dee earlier on, is like we're working with people that he's the only dude that has science that explains what's going on. The only person we've found. And the guys that we're working with have been doing this for like 40 years.
I know, but they're all locked into their education, I think. You know,
not the guys.
Not the guys Ben's working with.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is it's what Ken's talking about isn't a theory. That's why with that rant that I had with Dee the other day, it's like you can make carbon from electrolysis of water. You just have to set the field up and tune it correct. You can also pull all carbon matter out of water, no matter how much carbon is in, through the same thing. And you can do that just with magnets. See, because that's the whole thing, is if you position the magnets right, you get their dielectric, which is the electric field. You
So
position
Yeah.
Well, no, not once again. Yeah. And what he says is they create a 0 point that they fall into. Okay, so that's the chaos. That is the radiation field I'm going with is you have either long wavelengths or short wavelengths that haven't haven't reached capacity, haven't, coalesced. So the most dominant field in those two light spectrums, whether it's ultraviolet or infrared, when you spend too much time in that field, you start becoming that field. You don't die, you don't get sick, you just become the more dominant field. It's like with the water. Once it's charged, you can take charged water from dirty water, so dirty water, charge it, it becomes clean, loses everything, and then send that charged water into another dirty water, and it will charge the dirty water to be clean. So the more dominant field, and it doesn't have to be more of, it's like the revolution, right? It only takes 3% because it only has to become the more dominant charge. So then it's the domino effect. So
Sonia just said you begin to modulate at the same frequency.
Yeah, exactly. You either fall in or out of phase. It's kind of like what we've been talking about with pyrolysis versus burning or fire. It's like you can pyrolysize something, like a piece of toast. You can pyrolysize it, and it will still be in carbon form, that exact piece of toast, but there'll be nothing in it except carbon, nothing.
We had a whole pre-show discussion on this that I didn't record, and I'm pissed at myself because we went right through a whole pile of stuff with the carbon for about 20 minutes. I got to mute out, so you guys keep talking. I'll be right back in a second.
So don't you think, though, that's more of an oscillation than a growth? I mean, it would probably get up to a certain point and then come back down. It probably oscillates towards a balance.
Yeah, well, it'll oscillate until, exactly, it finds a balance. But as it oscillates, it's of course going to displace parts of itself. So kind of like the water dripping off of something onto a tin roof, where the drip lands is where it rusts. And we all go, oh, it's water rusting it. But what's happening is that H2O is losing one of its oxygens, and it's creating a charge. And that charge is then the iron becomes the what do they call it? The sacrificial. It becomes the sacrificial anode. So it's losing its iron. You see what I mean? So, and that was the whole thing. Is like oxygen creates this thing that dissipates energy, but where does it go? Like you don't have fire without oxygen. So then with pyrolysis, you've got this cooking happening, and it's dissipating all the compounds, the known compounds, back to carbon. All of them back to carbon, but there's none of them left. So where do they go?
Why keep them around?
Well, the energy, of course, doesn't go anywhere. So there must be a field that these things go to. It's the same with the water. When the scientists have tested the water, right, 197.5% saturated water with poison. So that means poison is saturated with poison. So 3 minutes through a device and none of it exists. And the scientists are like, no, where is the sediment fallout? And it's like, no, read Genesis. Everything came from water. We just sent it back there. So there's a field that stuff exists in an energetic state. And you see what I mean? So it's like...
Did you see that video that Ken put out last night?
No, I don't know. Don't think so. No.
Okay. So he was talking about what black holes are, what he thinks they are, and how his theory, I don't know what you want to call it, his ideas... hypothesis explains black holes, because what's happening, he argues, is that the dielectric field becomes so large that it overcomes the electric field and swallows it, and it disappears. So that's probably what's happening in those instances.
But see, he'll also say that energy never leaves, though. So the thing has only lost its persona.
Its structure.
Well, it's persona, because, see, it's still, even though you see it, it's still in energetic format as well. We just don't necessarily see the energetic format. We see the outcome of it coalescing. So that thing is still there. It's just, like I say, it's like, that's why I'm wondering with if two magnets come together and they create a void, and then you create a supermagnet which has a dielectric point, which is the void, right? So that void becomes that coalescent point. So it just has to go either side of that center point, and it becomes either the thing or not the thing.
And what happens if you stand in the middle and move it back and forth too?
Well, this is right, you see. But then you've seen the one where he gets the copper plate. I think I posted it in UU. So he shows the actual field of the rotation, but then he shows the field of its dielectric, which is it's trying to jump across the face and go to the other side, which is why it loops back in, because it comes back up the center. Yeah, so even though you've got a round magnet, it's got its center point and then its center point. And then on the other side, it's got its center point and its center point, and they're on opposite sides. So that's what I was saying. It's like if the Earth has poles, which we know it doesn't, but they are represented because it's a focal point of spin. But it also has its south. So in the north there is a south, and in the south there is a north, because of that loop. I mean, in his explanation, he doesn't say it, but did you just hear CERN, 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 CERN?
No,
because when...
I'm sorry.
No, because I was just listening to an older one where he goes, to do this, to create a black hole, all you'd have to do is make a gigantic magnet and turn it on, and then it would create a dielectric point, da-da-da-da-da-da. And I just went, he just said CERN.
And the other, however, 100 particle.
Yeah, and Fermi Labs and fucking Brookhaven.
Well, exactly. But then, okay, so now throw this fucker in there, because you have to always do the flip. Let's just go with them being evil bastards or not. So what if they're creating these particle colliders as dielectric centers so that they absorb more of what's coming in? Just the same as they're putting up the chemtrails to reflect.
Ben, you're going to force me to go into this theory that I'm working on right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm fucking good like that.
Well, I know. Okay, because this is the thing, and I've touched on this several times. The alternative media as a whole portrays everyone in power as the bad guys. All politicians are bad. All bankers are bad. They're all Draco, reptilian, gray, NPC, bots, whatever. And it's very easy to fall into that mindset, right? And that's not to say that there aren't fucking, some seriously demented, horrific people up there running the show. Ben, what the hell are you doing?
Rolling a joint.
Okay, well, I'm just going to mute you while you're rolling, because, man, you're being noisy. Or I would, but he's already done. Okay, so let's hypothesize. I'm going to go back for a second. We hypothesize that we have these we're not going to hypothesize, we know it's true, these massive amount of solar particles coming in. We have these massive amount of rays coming in. And they are affecting us. They are, and like I said, when I started going in and looking through all the shit, they are definitely affecting us. And I honestly believe that part of this shit that we're feeling, this, the continuous tickle in your throat that you can't clear, and you never get any better, but you never get any worse. All these physical symptoms are, I honestly believe, one of the main parts of this is going to be radiation. How much does it cost to continuously spray the sky for decades with aluminum? How much does it cost? I mean, we'll never find that answer. Nick was joking about it last night, going, they're never going to release that data on how much they've spent every year on fucking chemtrails. Okay, but and Megan, not billions, we're probably talking tens of billions of dollars. And it's very easy for everyone, and now God knows I do it all the time. I do it all the time where you go, those fuckers are poisoning us, they're killing us off, blah, 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 blah. But the one thing that we've said, oh, come on, Groot, seriously. The one thing we've said about the chemtrails is we know, and CERN as well, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because Ben said the other one. We know that they're spending ludicrous amounts of money on this, like beyond ludicrous amounts of money to run these projects. Okay? What if they actually know these solar particles are coming in? And they're actually putting up the aluminum, because we know that aluminum is one of the few things that will stop a portion, not all, but at least a portion of these rays, these ultraviolets and these X-rays and these gamma rays. It will block at least some of it. What if that's what they're doing, and they're doing it on purpose? And one of the things I said to Anne last night was, all these so-called bunkers that these supposed rich people, powerful people all have, where are they? They're all underground. Now, if an asteroid is going to hit the planet and they know about it, having a bunker underground going to do jack fucking shit. If the massive floods, earthquakes, volcanoes, being underground, not going to do you a lick of fucking good. But if you're talking about radiation, being underground is one of the only places where you would be protected, or at least somewhat protected. And now the other thing that came up for me was, and we brought this up last week because we were talking about prophecy. Everyone quotes the Hopi prophecies, and they quote the part of it that's all very la la la, you know, the rainbow warriors are coming and they're going to unite the people and everything's going to be absolutely wonderful. They don't talk about what happens beforehand. And part of the Hopi prophecy talks about a time where you cannot go outside in the sun and people would live in caves to protect themselves from the sun. These are the little pieces that just yesterday just kept flying, and it seemed like every time I open open up the internet or something, I was getting these pings were coming in like crazy, left, right, and center. What if that's what they know is happening? What if the chemtrails are not to kill us all off, as we all like to think they are, and dumb us all down? What if they're actually trying to put a veil up, quite literally a veil? Now, if Cliff High is right, and I will go so far as to say is I haven't really found any massive proof that he's right, but hypothesizing that Cliff High is right, and that a portion of our atmosphere was stripped off a few years ago. I think he said it was 2004, 2005. Okay. We're now, what have we seen in the last few years? Like, it's just the chemtrails, just fucking going, like fucking going. What if they can predict when these solar blasts are going to come in? What if they can predict these when they come in at waves? And that's the reason why they put out a whole pile of these satellites out there to predict and to capture and see all these particles when they're coming in. And maybe that's the reason why you see one area gets sprayed fucking heavily as hell, while one state over, or one province over, or even one city over, they have almost nothing. There almost no spraying happens. Going back to the radiation. Now, I want to talk about something. I'm throwing hypotheses out here, guys. And like I said, I'm not talking and saying that all these guys are fucking good guys. We all know they're not fucking good guys. But we also know, anyone who can rationally think and be logical, that not all of them are bad guys. We know that all the CERN scientists are not bad guys. We know that all the politicians, they're not all bad guys. Yeah, Ben.
Take it a whole other step further, because I totally get where like Chris is coming from. It's not even about defending them or making them look nice or saying that they aren't good or bad. What I'm saying about this is volcanoes spit out metal bits, ash, and da-da-da, which reflects the fucking sun's ultraviolet light and rays and radiation.
Yep.
If you were a smart man or woman or person or human being, would you not replicate that shit?
And that's what they're doing.
And in replicating said shit, would you not be then verifying that volcanoes at some point spit out ash for some strange reason because of UVCs, because of aluminum and da-da-da-da-da build up, and therefore do this? And there is this chain reaction because there is this thing happening that no one else is talking about. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sitting there saying, oh, look, they're being good. I'm saying, oh, look, they are fucking replicating a natural cycle that indicates this. So I'm not looking at them being good or bad. I'm going, why are they doing this that is fucking verifying this? And if it verifies this, then I need to start watching this shit, not this shit over here. That's what I'm saying by it. Yeah. It's the same, all of that kind of stuff. You know, it's the same with the symbology, the symbols and all the rest of it. Why is it there? Well, I don't give a fuck that Nike use a tick if that tick is actually a symbol of a fucking ring on a planet that indicates that energy format. Now, I'll go look at Saturn and follow what the Latins, the Greeks, and the fucking pagans used the energy for Saturn for. Now, we're talking about agriculture and plants that are being harvested too early due to rara. That's because we stick with a fucking Gregorian calendar that has 365 fucking days and 4 built-in seasons. Those seasons change according with the moon phases every 18 point something years. And we are out of fucking sequence, which is why things are fluffing out, right? All these little bits and things they are trying to replicate something, but they are doing it in an unnatural format.
Because they don't get it. I'm going to keep coming back to this. I said it to Anne last night at like fucking midnight. And you and I, last time we talked. Because these scientists only talk to themselves, and they're like this, they don't, it's like they do this one thing. So, for example, and I'll show you, I'll bring it up here. So you just said about replicating fucking volcanoes. And this is what we know, because they came out literally in, what date was it? Hold on. April. They came out and announced they're covering the earth with a sunshade, and they're mimicking volcanic eruptions in order to put up this sunshade. Now, of course, they give a fucking bullshit reason, right? It's this whole bullshit that's like typical whitewash, etc. But the one thing I keep coming back to, and I keep joking because it always comes up for me, in the movie Armageddon, when Billy Bob Thornton is telling Bruce Willis what they need him to do, and Bruce Willis says to him, I'm assuming you're not personally telling everyone on the planet about what's happening. And Billy Bob Thornton says, no, we can't. Because if the people were to know, we'd have an instant breakdown of society, mass bedlam, chaos, basically the worst parts of the Bible, he says. Okay? And that's the whole thing. And it's the same thing. Every time anyone talks about radiation, they point a finger and go, Fukushima, Fukushima, Fukushima. Whoa. Why? Because it's a physical earthbound thing that technically the public will go, we're disgusted by this. This is terrible. You should do something, and believe that they can actually do something. Whereas if you're told,
not just that, but that they know
you can't control,
but that they actually know something about it.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, radiation, bad, killing, death, world, die. Perfect. That's what people know.
Yeah. And they know nuclear reactor meltdown, Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island.
Well, how many Fukushimas does the Earth get bombarded with on a daily basis?
Okay, and that's what I'm coming back to.
It's one of those things. It's like the Newtonian theory of gravity. No one asked how the fucking apple got on the tree. That's like, oh, Fukushima blowed up. Well, isn't the fucking sun's apparently a gigantic nuclear reactor in our sky that just fucking spits at us constantly?
Regularly?
So it's very, very interesting because we look at it, the way that we look at it, it's like, oh, and we forget all the other bits of it. So it's like I was watching Ken again.
It's very easy to get like this.
In fact, the one that you couldn't watch of Ken Wheeler, where he's talking about, he actually shows color. He shows color in the spin of the magnets. he shows a blue phase and a red phase.
Okay.
Right. So his thing is I've proven how birds can travel even though they can't see magnetic actual grids. The color between the south and the north is a blue hue to a red hue. So if they're flying towards a red hue, they know which way they're going. And if they're right.
Which comes back to the whole thing of now we have birds flying in the wrong direction because the magnetics are off.
Exactly. Well, not so much off. They're just different. And
different,
bits and pieces, right? Bits and pieces. Or it goes red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. But then there's a TED talk that I also was watching on radiation, and he goes into, he see the green clouds in the aurora. He goes, that's oxygen.
Yep.
If you see blue, it's nitrogen. Yep. If you see da-da-da. So here are all these chromatographic representations. Red sky in the morning.
Sailor's morning.
What about
red
neon?
Sky at night.
Sailor's delight.
What about neon in the atmosphere?
Well, see, then it depends, because then we've got to figure out whether we're talking about actual neon or whether we're talking about sonar luminescence. And sonar luminescence is basically hydrogen or other particulates reaching their sonar capacity and expelling light. So, because like, you know, you've got mushrooms that glow, but it's not producing a light. And then you go into Ken's stuff of going, light's not light. Light doesn't travel. Light is literally something reaching its capacity and expunging that energy as light. So yeah, see, this is that deep hole. It's like,
well, I know, and this is okay. And I get the deep hole. I want to try and let's just skim around the deep hole for a few minutes, because this is what yeah, swirl. We're just gonna swirl, and you're gonna swirl in the opposite direction from me, because you're in the south, and that's okay. And if anyone's on the equator, they can just drop, or hover, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is one of these pieces that I keep coming back to and saying we need to, reevaluate belief systems, right? And belief systems aren't just religion. They're things like propaganda. They're things like whatever you're being told at the moment in the time. Science is a fucking belief system, really. Most science is a fucking belief system. At least physics is especially, right? So we need to start questioning, and I mean start openly questioning and looking at some of the stuff, because I've had the question about CERN for a long time, because I don't believe that these guilty fucks, these Rothschild guilty fucks who have collected up all the fucking energy and money on the fucking planet are going to support a project that's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars fucking a minute just to operate. I don't believe this. There has to be something more to it.
Well, there is something more to it, but then that's what I'm getting at is like, you have a fictional realm which is surveyed, conveyed, titled, and sent out upon it. And then you have every fucking thing else that's happening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, for me, chemtrailing and all that shit is in that one.
Yeah.
Is in the legislative bullshit box.
Yep.
I'm not saying that the acts are fictional, but it's kind of like my view started changing. I don't know if everyone saw, there was a meme that was put out on Facebook, and they had, I think it was, what was it? Was it aluminium and mercury? And it grew this fucking, they put a drop in, and it just
it did that shoot. Yeah, I know. I could never prove it because we went looking. Nick and I actually went looking to see if we could find like something a little more substantial.
Instantly, my head went, oh yeah, wow. You get a jab, you have a drink of water, boom, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean you have that big shard thing growing. That could just mean that it's like fucking Wolverine, and what it actually is doing, it's making adamantium inside you, and it's fucking coating all your endocannabinoid system so that isn't getting what it needs to get, and making vitamin, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So when I started looking, I was like, okay, well, fucking fluoride and chlorine, what do they do? And they put that straight in the water.
So what do they do? I haven't looked that up.
Well, no, yeah, neither have I, but it makes some fucked up gas that they have to wear hazmat suits and stuff when they put it in the fucking water. But that's the whole thing. It's like, okay, you shower in fluoride and then you fucking put on an aluminum body lotion with a fucking lead-based. And I'm going, I
know.
What are these compounds doing? And then you go into, like I say, we've been studying biological transmutation. Now that's biological transmutation. If there's biological transmutation,
chemical transmutation.
No. Well, that's part of that side of it, because biology and the compounds exist in that realm, right? Mm-hmm. So that's who interacts. Then there's that other fucking realm again. So you've got the energy of something interplaying with that compound, because the compound in and of itself is another energy, but is it in that state when it's in its state?
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is, like, when the scientist looks under a microscope and goes, oh, look, there's an electron and a nucleus and a da-da-da, when they're doing their thing, are they actually doing that? Because I've just been given a whole bunch of alchemical books, and there's these clairvoyants that for laboratories and science institutes and stuff did these clairvoyant remote viewing of compounds in their energetic state. I'll tell you what, they don't fucking look like no fucking electron and da-da-da-da-da. There's some fucking cool shit going on. And these guys found shit that science then came and were like, oh, look what they found. Oh, look, isn't that funny? Now, not everything that they saw has been verified, but most of it has been used. So, like, you've got the two states. You've got flux and then observation.
And this is the problem, though. We go back to that whole thing of this. Everything's taken as a separate component with no real consideration of all the other factors around it, i.e. the oxygen that it's mixing with at the moment, or the carbon dioxide that the scientist is exhaling as he's fucking staring through the fucking microscope. They're never, or not never, very rarely do they look at what would be the whole environmental piece of it. And by environmental, what I'm talking about is all the aspects that come to play on that one element, or that one particle, that one atom, right? So it's like you said, if you take water and you mix it with a bit of chlorine and then you throw in some fluoride, did they actually analyze any of that shit together and see what exactly comes from it? Guarantee they probably didn't. Okay, he's got out the whiteboard. Oh, we're all in trouble now.
Right. So, I kind of
you're gonna have to tilt. You're gonna have to tilt a little bit towards your right. Bring your camera to your right slightly, because we only see about this much of the board.
That's all right. I'm just gonna use like this.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So I was having to think about like the old Celtic knots and the Māori tuku panels that are in their houses and the glyphs that have been drawn and all this kind of stuff, okay? And I've been thinking about what we've been talking about, spin and all that. So you have a particle that comes in, and we're told a particle comes in like that, so it's just a line, but we know that shit doesn't move in a line, okay? So we know that it that's a 2D representation of a spin, okay? Yeah. But if you have a particle coming in, and this is off Schauberger's stuff and all the rest of it, okay?
Okay.
So if I want to describe the latticing of the universe, I have to use the universe's shapes, okay? So here we go. Particle comes in. it creates a divergence with the other thing. So we know that it has spin this way, and we know that it has a counter this way. But as they do this, this verges off. And of course, like Schauberger says, it creates a spin.
Exactly.
Right? But then everything has a spin that comes off of it. So this hitting this then also
has
a spin, which then creates this. Then off these, you have spin. Right? And then all of a sudden, what you have is you have the kurus that are coming out, or the waves that are drawn in. So, and they're lattice patterns. Think about the Celtic crosses and whatnot. And what I'm getting at is they're drawing. They're not just their family trees. Like, think about it. You have mum and dad, and then they have their offspring, you know? And this is how they draw family trees in energetic format. It's not names and stuff. It's how you came in. It's whether you have and just for, I'm not naming these, but it's whether you have a feministic left-hand spin or a masculine. We can't
see what you're drawing, love. We cannot see what you're drawing over there.
Whether you have a feminine left-hand spin and or a masculine right-hand spin. Right? And then it's got nothing to do with sexes. It's just energy. Left-hand spin, positive. Right-hand spin, negative, or vice versa. Red, blue, all these different things are all the same. And what I'm now thinking is the ancient cultures were drawing. They weren't just drawing fucking ferns and whatnot. This is an entire energetic grid pattern left in their designs of what the universe is. It's just spins upon spins, hitting spins, creating spins, and those spins have counter spins which create ropes, and those ropes are the ropes of the universe. So in the story of Maui slowing down the sun, it's not the flax and the hook literal, it's the energies of the universe that are being used as ropes to harness what the universe provides.
Yes, okay, Jerry, you just said it. Jerry just said you can find these patterns in the graphics produced by collisions at CERN. Yes, exactly. I've commented on it multiple times. It's like the spin. It's like the eddies in the water as well. When you get you get those spiral patterns.
But that's showing you the energy. It's showing you that's the energy. So if it's water and it's going down, it's fluid. So it's going to go the least resistant of what's coming against it.
Yep.
It's why pendulums work, because they're showing you the energy field that you're either asking for or that is produced from what you're trying to manifest. See, they overcomplicate it by creating a computer and fucking algorithms and all the rest of it to try and mimic.
Go to the damn cave drawings and they would have got it right the first time.
They got it right the first time. That's why they made the cave drawing.
I mean, the first time this time is what I mean. The first time this time. And that's another whole fucking story and a half. Because, seriously.
And that's what I'm so with radiation, are we seeing red or blue? And therefore, is it in this spectrum or this spectrum? So then we can go, and this was the thing, blue light, fucking let's go into a motherfucking cave, which is what that TED Talk says. He goes, if you wanted to get away from the radiation, you can actually go into caves on Mars to get away from it.
I really don't want to go all the way to Mars.
But then you can make bricks out of Mars dirt, which will do the same thing. And that's what we've been talking about with the insulations that we're working on. The polymers, they do the same thing. So, when we're actually being exposed right now, I think to the makings of, like we can postulate, but I can tell you, I have seen carbon being taken out of water, and I have seen carbon be put back in. So I know that electrolysis can create land.
Okay.
Carbon,
and you just led right in. Okay, so here's the thing. I want to go back to my sunburn. The funny thing about my sunburn is, I didn't burn. My face did not burn. Not even slightly. Like, not even a little bit did my face burn. What have I been using for several months now on my face? C60. This is carbon. Now, I did not apply the C60 and then go out into the sun. So it's not as if the C60 acted like a sunscreen, the type of thing where you know you're going in the sun, you slather yourself down with like SPF 5000 type thing. I hadn't put any on that morning. I only ever applied at night. But there was a protective effect that was measurable because my face was in the sun the entire time. Not a single burn. There was a protective effect from the carbon in the C60.
It absorbed.
It absorbed the radiation. Now, Ben and I's friend, who's a scientist who I talk to a lot because he works directly with C60 and works running some pretty cool experiments right now with C60. They've been testing the C60 with radiation treatments on animals. So specifically dogs who have got cancer and are going in for radiation treatments. When they pre-treat the dog, so in other words, give the dog like 10 mils of C60 and then send them for the radiation treatment, within 48 hours, there is no particles left in their system. None. Not a single radioactive isotope left in their bodies. Neutralized completely. When they treated dogs after they'd had the radiation, like I said, they came back and then they gave them the C60, the same thing. Within 48 hours, their systems were completely cleared of every radioactive isotope. And this is like, and he said, there's a lot of oncologists who are really fucking pissed at the university where he works because they're starting to get wind of this. And they're starting to get really, really fucking angry that this is going on. So going back to the carbon, and this is why I brought up the whole thing about the pyrolysis, right? When the pyrolysis happens with the carbon, it turns everything, that carbon literally just, it neutralizes. It doesn't matter what was put in there. It doesn't matter if they put asbestos in there. It's completely neutralized by the carbon.
So just to everyone's starting to talk about plants quickly. The plants are like, they are, they're like nature's signposts.
Yes.
It's like the plants that you call weeds, like you got to think of it differently. And this is that whole fucking change of your paradigm kind of shit. It's like plants aren't plants, plants are miners. Mm-hmm. That's what they do. So what they do is they mine substance and they turn it into organic matter to create the derma layer that we exist on.
Yep.
That's what they do. They're not just like something that goes, oh, fuck, I'm going to grow here and da-da-da-da. Like, they exist and they will layer themselves accordingly to what is needed in that soil to create a humic layer. So they will keep going until there is a symbiosis that's happening between the organic layer and the bacteria. So your plants burning and stuff like that, there's a few things. It's like if they've got spots, you've got to check out whether you've got water, because the sun, of course, magnifies and can burn in those spots. Dew and all that kind of shit will do that sort of stuff. But it also can mean, like, you know, it's the same with yellowing and all the rest of it. It's showing lack of nitrogen or lack of potassium and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of...
And that's one of the things that my farmer friend, I talked to her this week, and she was like, they have certain plants, she says, they're burning. I've never seen a plant with a sunburn before. And she says, I swear to God. And it was like some of the spinaches, some of the finer leafy, like parsley, that was one of the other ones she mentioned, she had a whole thing of parsley.
I wonder if the magnesium. I wonder if the magnesium is fucking reaching a capacity and out in the plants, or
and maybe Ben. But the whole thing is like I said, we're talking about the physical effects on our own skin.
Yeah, totally,
right. And that's why I'm saying. So when we're getting burns, and like I said, I who don't burn get a burn, and my skin, I want to scrape it with my fingernails as hard as I can because it itches so intensely.
But see, then
and now we're seeing these things on plants and animals, right?
And that's a
correlation.
Yeah, totally. But that's exactly what I'm saying. So, and you've got to take it on to a couple of layers. So, the fact that you're itching so soon could be two things. There's something in that air that is activated, or oil or whatever in your skin. But also, too, itching says healing to me as well.
Yeah.
Right. So it could also mean look how quickly your body is fucking going back.
Except that I went and looked at some of the information of the immediate signs of radiation poisoning. Itching is one of the number one signs.
Yeah, totally. But so is salt water. And
absolutely. But again,
that's all I'm getting at.
It's a comparative, right? Like I can sit there and say,
because the comparative for me would be that there's actually been a shift in light. And like I said,
exactly
4 or 5 months ago, when my ducks were fucking growing their winter
coats in the middle of summer,
there's been the light is different. It doesn't feel as hot, but something to me is indicating that there is something there.
Okay, so here's a question.
Oh, the animals aren't acting like it's hot. They're acting like it's cold. So you can still have, like the moon, bright light, but it's cold.
Yeah.
Just like the sun, you can have dull light, it's cooler.
Okay, we talked about ozone earlier. And we talked about ozone layers because, of course, Australia was supposed to have the biggest ozone layer hole, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, New Zealand, but yeah.
New Zealand, but in that general area, because you guys started with the whole pandemonium about sunscreen fucking 10 years before North America did, right? So going back to the question of ozone, right? And way, like, I don't know, an hour ago in the conversation, posted some information about the provings on the ozone, right? If the ozone layers are completely like this and like this and like this and like this and fluctuating, could this be the cause of why all of a sudden, let's say the ozone layer gets really thin or thick or whatever, and then the light is changed, and that's what triggers the animals to go, what the fuck, it's winter all of a sudden, like literally all of a sudden.
And it's their feathers that's not the fucking hot or cold, which is why a motherfucking cow can stand in the motherfucking snow just chewing on fucking nubs of grass being like, moo motherfucking moo. And you're going, how are you not an ice block? And the others don't freeze, you can still go milk them, is because it's not fucking cold. It's a frequency. Do you get what that's what I mean. We now have gone and associated temperatures
with frequencies.
With a heat. No, with a heat.
Okay, I got what you're saying. Okay. So
it's kind of like that whole thing. It's like if you have a cold hand and you put it in 15-degree water, it will feel like it is fucking on fire. You see what I mean? It's a frequency or a variance. And that variance might be your hand is 0 degrees, which is, if you leave it too long, is going to indicate fucking frostbite, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And da-da-da. So it's actually a variance. It's like it might be a 30-degree variance.
Okay.
That creates that sensation, and that sensation is actually not burning. It's a sensation.
Well, your nerves cannot discern between. This is a doctor I worked with in Thailand. He used to say, if you have an itchy mosquito bite, don't scratch the mosquito bite, tickle the skin right next to it, because your nerves can't tell the difference between an itch and a tickle. And I used to teach my kids, just tickle next to it, beside it, tickle the skin, just tickle a little tiny bit, and it will give the sensation to the nerve that it's being scratched without actually scratching the mosquito bite.
So if we've been now I'll correlate some other shit. So it's like if we've been coming into like the planets all on one side of the sun, all on this side we have maximum fucking energetic spatial radiation, all that stuff coming, and they just knew it. So they shedded, they grew their extra layer of feathers to protect them from that. It wasn't fucking heat, it's this extra radiation. And what we feel it as it reaches its capacity, or its capacity in and on us, it shows up as what we dignify heat or hot. But we know that 15 degrees can still feel hot if you're at, right?
If you just came out of a house,
it can feel like your hand being at 37.5 and putting it into 70 degree water.
Yeah.
It's the same, but it's not the same. But it will, if your hand is 0 degrees and you put it under 15 degree water, you can fucking kill all the cells. The same as putting your hand in under 70 degree water at 37 degrees. It will still do the same fucking thing.
And they've proven that in scientific experiments where they've taken someone with it. Yeah,
you have to do it slowly, right? See, this is what I'm getting at. So what you're saying is what we think of as this and that. It's not. It's like Ken says, it is the difference between 1 and phi. Ooh.
1 and what?
Phi.
Phi.
Not pi, phi.
And what's phi?
Oh, fuck. Pi is 3.14159. Hang on. Someone will put it in here before I can even find it, but oh no, not that one. I think it's 1 point something 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 something. Phi. It's the golden ratio. Or the 21st.
Okay, I got you what you're saying. Yep.
Or the Delphi symbol. Oh, fucking hell. Here, I get to pull my fucking rope out, D. I get to pull my rope out. This is hilarious. No, well, right.
Don't worry. His rope is not like a code name for something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've been talking. You got 9/11, the skipping of God, 1 and 0.
Yeah.
Right? 0 being God. The Delphi symbol, or the 1 and the 0. The 0 with the 1 through the center of it. The dielectric center point. Oh, you guys, can you see that? I know it looks kind of squarish. That's 1 fucking rope. If I do that, I have 2 spheres. I have 2 pieces of one thing.
Yeah.
But because they cross, it changes everything, because then you also have other points of energetic variance.
Yep.
It's no longer that. In the 360 degrees, it's 720 degrees with the vertices. So there you go. 1.618 da 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 da.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
This is where like the Fibonacci sequence and these sorts of things come into play. Well, yeah, it's a spiral. If you keep extending it, it just is a spiral.
Yep.
And then it depends on whether you twist it or untwist it to how big the wavelength is in it, or compress it or extend it. See, and so then what, like I say, we're dealing with is the volume. Like, can you find a volume that you could put your 0 degree hand in front of that would make it feel like it's burning? Because you know that you could put that same hand into an oven, which is just air, and it would feel the same as the water hitting it. Do you see what I mean? So then you have what we've got is your body is telling you certain things, but it's not what we've been taught it's telling you.
Which is why children don't feel the cold in the winter or the heat in the summer.
Yeah, and I'll rephrase that. It's not necessarily what you have associated it with. It's why I keep on going on about like the emotion thing. It's like, I said to a friend the other day, I was like, next time you eat pasta, eat it, but don't feel it hit off. When you feel it hit your stomach, feel it up here. And then next time you eat a piece of chocolate, do the same thing. And then next time as you're falling asleep, feel it up here and see if they're roughly the same sensation. So then you've got this feeling like, and this is what I say, depressed. You can smother it with food because you've associated food with homely, with safe.
Safe, yep.
But you've disassociated and you no longer, and that's the attachment that we've created. So the feeling of depression is not so much depression, it's a wavelength that's either been extended or compressed, but you've associated with this other thing. And then because you've associated with this other thing, instead of what your body's going, hey, you need to just smile. And then you're like, oh fuck, what the fuck was I on about? It changes. And then you start, no, it's not your hand burning, it's you feeling a variance. You've become, let's just say that you have, in that point, you've become the fucking variance between the two things that you've coalesced in your hand, which is fucking cold and hot. That's like I say, it's kind of like it's the sync thing, right? If it's going, we're sitting there going, look, it's a clockwise spin. No, it's showing you're in an anti-clockwise spin. It's just like Ken said that blue is coming towards you. And we've been sitting there going, our red Kachina's coming towards you. But he's showing that magnetically it's coming towards you. But then Joe will tell you that north is south and south is north. So there's still a little bit of discombobulation in it, but the theory, not the theory, the proof is there. Wow, silence. But that's kind of like, it's massive though. It's the same as the thing D. It's like burning and pyrolysis. One leaves a complete carbon structure, unaltered in its form, other than it's just carbon now.
Yeah.
Prior to that, it was wood or potassium condensate or some fucking thing, right?
Something ridiculous, exactly.
So, but it's still in its form. So, and then my head, all my head does is go, what the fuck does oxygen do with it? Because it's the oxygen that does it.
Oh, Sony, you're cracking me up, and you're seriously, like, just too fucking funny. Oh, for fuck's sakes. But when we're dealing with the frequencies, right, and these different frequencies, so if we're talking about frequency, wavelengths, because that's what frequency is different wavelengths, if you will. So the wavelengths change.
Yep.
So therefore, to be able to discern that, the problem comes in is how do you discern the change of wavelengths?
Color.
Okay, yeah, that's great. But as you just said, the birds can see the color, but we can't.
Or can we?
Well, I can't. I don't know about you. And you're fucking colorblind, so don't tell me you can.
Well, no, but see, I've been seeing variants. I told you, I've seen blue fucking trees.
Yeah, I know. And I get it.
You've all been seeing pink fucking skies, rainbow, blue skies. These are the colors. That's what I'm saying.
So can we make a predictive? Can we use it as a predictive?
We have created a variance. Color is frequency, is sound, is da-da-da-da-da-da-da. They're just at different points.
Okay, so can we make a predictive point if we start taking note of these variations of color, we'll say?
Yeah. Totally.
in our atmosphere around us. But more so than that, can we work out then what the variations of color mean as in cause and effect?
Well, this is what, so the map that you sent me on the ozone.
Yes.
Right? I was sitting there and I'm trying to work out, I'm like, oh, well, I can't really fucking work out, is the higher number,
I was doing the exact same thing.
But then, distraction, the colors, green, oxygen, blue, nitrogen. So is nitrogen, we go back to, is oxygen the filter and is nitrogen the splitter? So as the cosmic energy comes in, nitrogen is what splits the particulates to what's needed on the cell membrane, and ozone is what filters it. So instead of fucking putting all this aluminum, could they actually create an ozone barrier that exists inside the skin of the spacecraft that repels and depletes all radiation? So could you do ozone treatment on the skin of people, which will then deplete all the bad shit on the outside to reinstate what needs to be good?
I'm actually working on that right now. Shh.
Because if you do it, because you've got to remember, because we use ozone in sterilization.
Yes.
So you have to be careful because too much will kill all the biology.
Bacteria, and you can't do that because we need the bacteria. Oh, exactly. Now, here's the thing. The one thing I want to point out though is that you're making this thing about whether it's the splitter, it's etc. But what if the color is not and we're going back to the whole thing of like scientists looking at an isotope, but they're looking at just that atom, that's that isotope, just that element, just that particle, without taking into consideration the variations around it. Well, so are the colors we're seeing the actual interaction, the mixing of the two, i.e. the cosmic rays are coming in, mixing with oxygen and producing this color. Take this color.
Take it a whole step further, because oxygen and nitrogen don't exist necessarily outside of here. They are wavelengths in space until they hit an atmosphere.
Are they wavelengths in space? Dun, dun, dun. Or are they just in our atmosphere, within our bubble?
Well, that's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, does anything exist until it is needed to? And so Maury,
don't even go in there. No.
Well, Maury said, I'm seeing Ben is giving an excellent description of how it all is, but not why. Because there was spin.
Because there was spin. Okay, I'll bite.
Because one thing was here and one thing was here, and the hardest way to get around something is straight through, so they went around each other. Because, there you go, people. There's your hope. Because compromise was made in the beginning. So they didn't obliterate each other. They intertwined and fucking had coalescent cooperation. Boom. In the beginning, there was cooperation.
In the beginning, there was cooperation.
I'm not even joking.
I know you're not, and that's why I'm smiling. Okay. And why must there be a why? Jerry, yes, absolutely. Why is it? Why is the question that we ask? But that's the whole thing. Why is a why? Why do we ask why? I ask why because I can't help myself.
Because there is an X.
Okay, no, don't start this because there was an X. You go into some kind of algebraic pun, that's it. I'm done. I'm turning off the meeting. That's it.
X and a Y.
You are terrible. Now I was just going to say something that's completely gone.
Well, it's just the vortices again, right?
Okay, right. So great. Going back to the why.
Why?
We asked the why because we're curious. We asked the why because... Say again?
The why. There's the split.
Okay, yeah.
And the X. There's the convergence.
Well, I don't know about you, but I have two X's. So that mean I'm
I
doubly
know.
converged?
But without the Y, you can't have an XY, right? One controls and holds the law.
There's some new shit coming out just recently on that topic. That's
one holds and controls the law, the other enforces it. Well, I shouldn't say enforces, sorry, upholds it. That is the rules of the game. Okay,
so I'm going back to Jerry, because Jerry and I are having a conversation. You keep talking about X's and Y chromosomes and shit. All the rest of it. Jerry, this is the distraction, right? And I do it all the time myself. I get caught up in the why, and I got to chase every avenue of where the why, every question of the why, because I want to know why. But sometimes we have to drop the why.
Well, can I ask you, what is your why question?
What? Say again, hun.
Why what?
Why is it the way it is? Why did it do that? Why is there a convergence here? Why was there cooperation, etc.?
You have to be more specific.
Okay, no, I'm not. Why? Never mind, Ben.
Because I think that the why is why are we here?
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Why can go to from every level.
You want to know why it looks intelligently designed?
Because it is.
I know, but I mean, that's the why. That's what you want to know.
See, I don't want to know that why. That's actually not one of my why questions. My why questions are more like,
how is it intelligently designed?
Why is the fucking sun doing what it's doing? Why are we experiencing what we are experiencing? Why?
But that's the thing, is like, we keep doing this, and if you remember, the reason like the deep immersion thing came about was because we're all having individual experiences. The deep immersion is the talking about to try and come to a
balance.
A balance. And an understanding.
To then go forth to see if you notice under your observation any differences under that new perspective. Yeah. And we have.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've now, I'm going to say, I reckon we have now correlated that. And, you know, don't take me wrong. I'm not saying we have done this. We walk on the shoulders of giants. It got said so fucking long ago that they decided to write it in a cave, okay? That's how important this shit was. These motherfuckers were so busy and important doing cool shit that they went, oh, hang on, we'll quickly write this down in a cave and then we'll get back to it. But that's the whole thing. We had, like, yes, they're chemtrailing. Now we have these correlations. We have now got these variations in color that are like, you know, compounds and gases that are showing themselves to us. We have plants literally talking to us. They're now talking to us so loudly that they're like, I'm going to show you on me because you're not listening, that this is what's transpiring. See, I walk out into my paddock now that I've been manicuring, and I've got so many milk thistles that are coming up. It's hilarious. Most people would be like, I'm going to go fucking spray, but I know that they're now mining silica, right? I've got my lawn to the point where there's enough kind of organic matter going on that they're now harvesting silica. And then the next thing is the bigger plants start coming through, or the more native grassy plants to start coming through. So then I get more native birds. I can see it.
And Andrew said, and they're making you a lovely liver tonic.
Well, this is exactly it, you see. So this is the whole.
Deb, you're funny. Deb just asked.
I'm just going to say, and I mean it in the nicest.
What does it mean if you have a buttload of shepherd's purse?
Well, see, now, what do you call shepherd's purse? What's its Latin name and or other common names, okay? But this is that whole thing. It's like, let's be really motherfucking divine smart beings that we are. It's like, Anne, guess how you can magnetize water? Spin.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So I'm sitting there, and because we've been talking about the Polus Australis and Polus, the other one, or Polus, or whatever they are.
I get them confused.
What if they just centrifugally charged water?
Down the toilet.
Oh well, that's a bit harsh, but because that would say to me, D, you might be getting into urine therapy. But anyway, but like this charge, you see, and like I say, these guys that we work with, they do some fucking intense shit, but they have people that are sick that walk into the room, and every single experiment they're doing will stop. Because the person that's walked in the room has absorbed all the ether or all the orgon or all the whatever you want to fucking call it that they're playing with. And they then get their batteries and go and like zap the motherfuckers in different points to then recalibrate them to what they need so they can continue.
Okay, and this comes back to you perfectly. We get caught up in the whys. And I love, like I said, I love to discuss all the whys, but we need to sometimes talk about the nows, like the nows as in the what is happening. We can get so caught up in the why it's happening that we don't really look at what is happening. And what you just said is fundamental in that. You have a sick person walks into the room and everything shuts down because, well, we can ask why, or we can say, okay, this works. There's something going on here and go forward with that, right? So this is, and like I said, I am the worst fucking person in the world for getting caught up in the whys, and I will spend 10s and 20s of hours trying to figure out why one specific thing is happening. But right now we need to look at the now of what is happening. And what do we do about it? What do we do about it? And this is one of those pieces, right? It's when we have someone comes into a room. Now, we had a friend of ours who made a Bedini. Do you know the Bedini motor? I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's like a free energy device. Free energy. Sorry, I said the dirty word. Shh. Don't tell Nick. It's a Bedini motor. It's a self-perpetuating energy device, but it brings off. It's an over unity device. Thank you, Jerry. Perfect. Thank you for rescuing me. Okay, it gives off fields, and this friend of ours had this. I think he said it was a fern, and it was like rather sickly little fern. And when they built this over unity device, they put it in. It was built in the room. This fern just started going, hush, and it became luxurious. It became gorgeous. It was so thriving. It grew so big. It was so beautiful. And then they had to take apart the device months later. For whatever reason, they had to move it to someone else's house. They were whatever. And instantaneously, that fern started wilting. Started shriveling, and it literally became this pathetic, scrawny little thing again. So we can get caught up in the why, and we did. Trust me, for fucking about 2 weeks, we got caught up on the why. Of asking, why did this happen? Why? Or we can focus on that this did happen. So what does this mean for us? And you go, okay, obviously there was something. Crap, hold on, I'm having an issue. There we go. Obviously, there was something in that field that was being generated that plant needed, that plant wanted.
And on top of that,
thrived with.
You could have, and this is where geomancy fucking still never ceases to fucking blow my mind, is you could have moved that plant to the other side of the house and it might have just done exactly the same thing and started thriving.
It may have, and that's the whole thing. I mean, listen, I had a lemon tree in my living room when Quillen was a baby. And I moved it 2 foot in either direction, the thing started losing all its leaves.
But see now, like, if we come to that same situation, we can now get a funnel and find out which way energy is producing, and then possibly look for another point that matches that naturally. See,
absolutely.
It's the same with like, you know, because when I started getting into geomancy, like a lot of the stories were like things like people having a house, right, and like the wife started getting a tumor, so they got a geomancer out and they found that there was a waterway that had shifted because they'd cut a tree down or moved a boulder.
Yep.
And the frequency of the water coming up and through was creating disharmony in her body. So they did something and it shifted, and then he started getting a tumor because they didn't move it properly, and it went under his side of the bed.
Yep.
And there's things like this that people are instantly, and like, don't get me wrong, and Chris, yes, I know they're not nice, but things like we're instantly going smart meters, right? It's like on the your and I deep immersion. It's like you've got to think about, like, Rome was built. They knocked down all these ancient mounds, bar 7 mountains / mounds. They covered up entire riverways, creek beds, the whole works, right? Now, we know that water is a powerful thing, regardless of whether I sit here and say it's one of the greatest magnetic things on the planet or not. Now, you picture if it is that, and then you bury it, and then you build a foundation, and then you build a church over that, and then it's got,
it funnels all the fucking energy.
And it's got nothing to do with the fucking congregation. It's got nothing to do with the fucking people. The religion's the distraction, but they need justification just to build these fucking structures on these points. That's all it is. It's got the religion's just like, how are we going to justify for eternity building megalithic structures, and the fact that we still have this ancient knowledge, and we need every fucking 1,000 years the energy points move, so we've got to keep up with it, so we've got to keep building, and we need multiple fucking religions to cover it by because of this, that, and the other. So all it is the actual building. It's the structure. That's why fucking Benjamin Franklin went to Philadelphia after Rome had already... So for all we know, Rome was built to put spires on top of those fucking things to ground the lightning in that fucking area on those fucking creek beds that... Was it Cain and Abel, Romulus and Remus were like, motherfucker, we're going to fight over this shit. Right? Like, this is what I mean. Like, the more and more, it's like, oh... It's symbology and structure, right? And they use the fucking 9 goddesses of art to communicate with us. So here we have Tesla tech, where Tesla was trying to bring this out and show what was going on, because they were sitting there going, look, it comes from the sky, but it doesn't. It comes from the fucking earth. Right? And that's what Tesla was actually showing. The energy was already there. They were already doing the fucking practices, yada, yada, yada. But he was trying to show everybody that it came from the earth. I want to make the earth shine like the sun, because that's its capability.
But just because you can do something, just because it's capable of doing something, does it mean that it's actually something that should be done? Does it mean?
But like, don't get messed up in the distraction.
Yeah.
Did he do it? No. Once he worked out how to create earthquakes, what did he do? He fucking destroyed it.
Yes,
He fucking destroyed it. He didn't turn it off. He fucking destroyed it.
So no one would do what he did because,
Right? The dude who fucking came out with radionics got it so fucking perfect that he went, the only reason we're releasing this is because I'm taking out these parts, and I'm not even telling you what parts I took out, because we've perfected it so much that anyone on the planet you could kill with a photo.
Yeah.
Don't even need to know where they are. And you can do it by any means. You can infect them with a virus. You could kill them with a knife and not even be there. And this was scientifically proven through the 30s, 40s, and 50s.
And then buried.
Well, no, it's still out there. It became a pseudo-science because they couldn't explain ether. So they came up and put a dash there, anti.
They put a dash there, and then, well, we were talking, Nick and I were talking yesterday about Maxwell's equations again.
Yeah,
and
well,
the pieces
exactly.
that were taken out because they didn't comprehend it. So it was like, well, this doesn't seem important. Let's just throw this part of the equation out.
Well, no, see, and now, to back up what Chris was saying, they didn't fucking get rid of it because look at the fucking technology that we have and look at what I just said. Rome was possibly built to be a fucking electric generator to fucking charge the planet. As in Vatican.
Yeah.
A 2,000-year-old electric machine built into a fucking circular fucking thing on top of the fucking earth. Does it sound familiar?
You mean, that thing that with the big magnet that we don't want to talk about?
Possibly. Do you know what, like, this is the thing. It's like when you start getting into like the fact that I can't remember, and you might be able to help me. There's a fucking river in Ireland, really sacred one, and apparently it mirror images the Nile.
Really?
Yes.
And it's just funny because I just recently had a video come up and I didn't end up watching it, and of course now I can't find it. Something else that I'm watching, and like your YouTube gives you their suggestions, and it was Egyptian goddess in Ireland.
Yeah, the Boyne River.
And it's this Egyptian goddess who visited Ireland and brought something to Ireland, and it's in the folklore.
Here's a funny one, and I know that we'll get a message from our friend D about this, what I'm about to say, but let's just go. If you have a whole bunch of fires on a certain day, ceremonially, let's say, that creates a whole lot of nano ash up and above, let's say, a city. Yeah. And you've learned how to harness water so that you can create beams that you can send into those clouds that then particulate that photon exchange energy that you shoot up, and they create plasma beams so that you can then steer and control those plasma beams to terraform.
Terraform what, though?
Rivers, mountains, lakes, mines, canyons. Chop giant silica trees down with a fucking laser bolt. Just saying.
Could build pyramids.
Ooh.
Oh, don't even get him started on that one.
That's a really good idea. We should do that.
Can we make it out of like limestone so that I can
I reckon that we'd probably have to make some form of polymer, and it would have to, some would have a certain amount of copper.
Our hemp foam cream.
Oh, that's an interesting, but this is what I'm getting at. Like, what if, or did they? See, like,
why?
It's like I say, it's like, what is fire? But why not?
Because something shouldn't be fucked with. That's why not.
But see, that's what I mean. Is like, if they're off, is the being off the fucked with? Is the being on the right thing? What I'm saying is if the pyramids have been turned off, is that where the fuckery comes from? Oh, excuse me. I'd like to speak to our answers. But, well, there we go. It just, like, for me, is, yeah, they didn't fuck around. They didn't do pointless objective. They didn't have pointless objectives.
But we don't know that. You're hypothesizing.
Oh, no, we know that they didn't.
Because I mean, they could have been like, some King Midas guy was like going, you know, the view from my front porch is really good, but it would look really nice if there was a mountain just over there.
But see, then what we're doing is like we're putting them into our position, which we can't do. See, it's like you've got to think when like King Henry the whichever it was, fucking 5th or 8th, which is the cunt that created the Church of England?
8th.
8th, right. So you got to remember, like, prior to that, God created the world. And then all of a sudden, there were 2 gods. Which God was it? They didn't have an iPad. They had a sun and a moon. They had a sun and a moon. No, but I'm just saying, like, now they turn around and they go, oh, we found the God particle. And everyone just goes, oh, yep. What's on Netflix?
I have often thought a mountain would look good around here. Like, like I have thought about that.
I have a couple here if you want to borrow one.
And
a little flat on top.
I would like to go back to when you guys were talking about like underground and that. And last night I was watching a documentary thing on YouTube about them wanting to like build a city underneath Chicago to deal with like all the traffic, all that, you know, to like the population. But they were talking about like how hard it would be, like to like because of the way the ground is there and all that, and how far they would have to go down.
So you mean like the structure, like it's granite, it's quartz, it's
like it's different levels. Like it's very interesting, you know. But my question about the radiation, though, is, okay, what about the body changes? I mean, I'm wondering if someone's like, okay, we know these changes are happening. If we can just shift the human anatomy this way here and here, maybe we can have them, like, sort of, you know, be made to, like, withstand. Yeah.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I don't know if you listened to Ben and I's Deep Immersion this week. Ben, going back to that, whose DNA, whose blood cells are they spraying us with?
Okay, go one more step.
Someone brought up the show 100. The 100, and then there are those people who survived the nuclear fallout, whatever it was, because they were resistant to radiation.
But see, take it a step further. They are fucking with us. Or
absolutely.
We are being fucked with.
Yep.
We are seeing fucking natural signs of what the fuck is going on. That is like the colors in the sky, the fucking warm and cold winds, the fucking da-da-da.
The weather that's completely fucked.
But even with the weather, that's what I'm saying. Like, there was no differentiation from water. Yeah. Liquid, solid, gas, water. Yeah? So it's like hot, cold, positive, negative, right hand, left hand spin. That's what's happening. So if what I'm now seeing is like if you've got a cold spot and it's getting snowed on and da-da-da, cold spot, cold, blue, right hand spin. Out of the planet is a left-hand spin coming. It's calibrating, right? So then if it's negative, positive, it's like if you're quite positively charged or acidic in your body, you're probably going to, because that is the exponential energy. Whereas if you bring yourself into balance, which is opposites attract, and you make that field between you and it fall out,
or
you recalibrate.
Or the storms and the weather and all the rest of it could be from physical changes to the planet itself. that are
signaling. They are both. No, that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm trying to get to, is that it is both. One does not segregate from the other. And Earl, okay, your question about the whole thing about body changes, and could we get into the Mandela effect and shit like that? Nothing changes that. That's fucking still there. We're still looking at all the same shit that's going on. What does that mean? Why is that happening? We don't know, right? But the effects that we're seeing, are they interlinked? Are they separate? Does one preclude the other? We don't know.
I think they're all
that's why I'm trying to force myself to concentrate on the not asking why and more focus on the.
In fact, I tell you, one of the big things in communication is why is not the question you should ever ask, because it sets yourself up to create a disharmonic with the other person, because it's a challenge. It's who, what, where, how. No why.
I get it. Why is subjective.
But yeah, completely subjective. The other four you will get everything from. This is what I mean. It's like if fluoride and mercury
mix together and attach themselves to your brainstem.
And there's a fucking DC comic with fucking Wolverine who has adamantium coated bones.
That's Marvel.
That's Marvel, darling. Seriously, get your act together. Get your universes sorted out, dude. That's one that I'm not going to let slip.
I'm in mine, man. But see, that was what I was thinking, D, is one of the guys in the TED talk on radiation, he brought in which one is like Stretch and the Rock Dude and Flame Dude and Invisible Girl? What are they?
Oh, the Fantastic Four.
Is it the Fantastic Four?
Yes.
Right. So there you have it. Ethereal, invisible, stretch, waves, because that's extending your ability.
Flames.
Rock, flame, fire.
Yeah.
Oxygen.
Yep.
Right.
It's all four elements. It's fire, air, earth, and water. All the Marvel shit is esoteric.
Yeah. But that's what I'm getting at. It's like, it's blatant. We can't be ignorant. That's exactly what's going on. And then we now know that there are these show signs. So then it's just working out the differentials in those signs, not in what or why.
Taking Doggo for a walk?
Yeah, I'm going to bed.
Okay.
Well,
it's almost the end of the show anyway. We're at the end. See, there's a big long fucking mosquito in my face and big long pregnant silence. So what have we learned today?
What we learned?
Why ask why?
Why only sets you up for
a catastrophe?
Disharmony. It's about integration, right? It's not about competing. And integration doesn't mean taking everything on and attaching everything. Integration is literally about the shit that doesn't fit.
Yeah. Yeah, Megan, why is it thinking like a 2-year-old? Exactly. I am just a 2-year-old.
Yeah. And a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old.
And occasionally a 100-year-old. At least that's how I feel this week anyways.
Actually, I was going to say real quick, when you mentioned that, it's like I've heard it said by different people I know anyway, including a guy that didn't live very far from me. He is from Chicago, Illinois. He went to Italy. And like he said, we're all still children in a sense. I mean, that's why I like to say, the diaper thing. We need to get out. We need to get out of the cradle.
Well, we are. We just, it's kind of like, it's that fucking rat in the lab metaphor, you know, where they have, like, they spend 2 months in and then they lift the fucking outside off and they don't leave.
Yep.
That's the thing, is like science is having its fucking lid popped off. And everyone is now starting to not, like, they're scrambling to create theories to back up all their claims now.
Well,
because everybody is seeing shit that verifies otherwise.
That verifies otherwise. Their fucking explanations are bullshit.
And if they're not, it's cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not joking, because, like I say, what is fire?
Hot.
Is it?
Amazing.
I don't know. Last time I put my hand in it, it was.
But we go back to, is 15-degree water hot?
I'm going to say, going out on a limb here, say that no matter what temperature my hand was before it went into the fire was still hot.
Mm.
To my, that's my perspective.
Battle of the wise.
The battle of the wise. Everyone's going off on the wise here. Man. No, well, this is it. This is it. What you just said is really true. The cognitive dissonance right now is at levels that are just beyond epic, because none of the shit that we were taught in school, and it is still being taught in school, is actually making sense anymore. And they are scrambling right now to come up, and you see, fucking NASA is fucking awesome. The shit that they come up with, and NOAA as well, the NOAH, when they try and explain cloud formations and they try to explain double concentric fucking rainbows, and you're just like, really? We're not believing your new theory, because no.
Well, and I'd almost have to agree with you, Maury. I'd almost have to agree with you. But see, that's that whole thing, is like, once again, D, if you put your hand in the fire like this,
yep,
you know, when you get the lighter,
yep,
it's all capacity or ability for capacity. And what I reckon is, and this is like fucking deep woo, but your sunburn, and this is not meant by, because we are divine beings and we're only limited by our limitations, as sunburn is like the extent of your capacity at that point under those circumstances. It's not the norm,
right?
Because your body will adapt, your bacteria will change, you can up your nutrition and data, and things will change. But that
does not change that the burn occurred, and it has to be taken care of in that moment.
Totally. But see, what I'm getting at is the learning experience from that. See,
Absolutely.
what we did was we all went slip, fucking slop, slap. That's what we did. Do you see? Everyone around the world got pushed, slip, slop, slap. Put on your sunscreen, put on a hat, put on a t-shirt. Cancer, 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 cancer.
The big C's coming to get you.
That was never the answer. And so you have a generation of 30 years that has never learnt to fucking be in the sun.
Yeah, and they have no melanin in their skin to protect
sensitivity. Exactly. See, like, so all of it.
Yep.
It's ability for capacity, and that is what. There you go. There's the why.
No more whys. Not tonight. It's now 2 minutes to midnight, and I'm about to. Look, I'm already turning orange.
Yeah, that's all right. I've got to go and take a child to school, and it's just how we adapt it. It's like I say, like from knowing that rain hitting your tin roof creates an electrical discharge every fucking time it rains, which is why after X amount of years that discharge will create rust and you have to change your roof unless you got tiles, and yet still A discharge happens no matter the medium.
Yep.
It just depends on how long it can hold the capacity to
Before it
stay
breaks
in
down.
its state, which then means that if you were to hook your roof up in the right way, you have free energy. You don't need photovoltaics. So why the fuck
Exactly.
are they working on all this? See what I mean? This is water running through your taps.
Exactly.
If created out of the right material,
Right. Who do
creates
I live
electric
with?
charge. I know. But this is why I'm saying it, because he's not fucking here, because I got his back too. So the fact of the matter is we're whinging about shit that we, like I say, because of what we've attached ourselves with, the knowledge that we've been taught, the other stuff, it's like, what is fire?
I'm not going there.
No, but that's okay. It's the concept, right? It's not the thing. It's oxygen in the stuff. See, like I say, it's not a piece of wood that's burning. It's the essence that makes up the piece of wood mixing with oxygen that is doing it. A spark or another type of capacity charged that field to create that. So it's the oxygen, it's not the wood. And therefore it's not the tree, it's the thing the tree's interacting with, that the tree is showing you.
Oh, man.
Well, that reminds me of an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where Data end up on this planet and the people have this thought process that the fire is in the wood. So and Data's trying to tell them, no, the fire is not in the wood. Like he's trying to explain to them, how it works. And this is what it feels like right now.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. The disclosure is the fire is in you. Too much oxygen will make you flux.
Oxidize.
But oxidation, like that's what I'm saying. Where does oxygen or where does hydrogen take these particulates? Where does electricity take that stuff? It's still here.
It's still
just
here.
Exactly. So what you're seeing is the other realm or realms, therefore, that exist here at play. So you can't question those anymore. Now you can call them dimensions and timelines and fucking whatever the fuck you want, but they exist. All right? But then we can't call them timelines. See, we'll keep going. We're going to have to finish in a second. But timelines. Time does not exist. It is the capacity for something to absorb and then discharge. A tree absorbs for as long as its life can, and then once it reaches capacity, it discharges. It doesn't leave. It dissipates into another form.
I'm done, dude. I'm sorry. That was the sound of my brain actually just turning off. Womp, womp, womp.
Yeah, Thursday feels a little...
And in my case, she agrees with me. It's fucking late over here on this side of the world. So we're going to stop here. We're going to stop, everyone. I'm sorry, before this goes any farther. Sunday night, Jupiter ascending, 10 p.m. CET, 4 p.m. EST, 6 o'clock in the morning in Sydney.
Watch it under this show's new perspective, because that movie fucking is going to crack you guys up when you think about DNA in the atmosphere.
Uh-huh. Okay, so we will be back on Sunday for that. New movie library and UnFuckIt Unite. The new recipe library. I got to get someone with a camera to take photos of shit that I'm making because I don't actually have photos. That's your job. You have to take photos of shit
Yeah,
that I'm
we
going to
agreed
make.
on this earlier.
Yep, exactly. And that's it for us.
Jupiter ascending fucking cracked me the fuck up, and I went, of course.
It is good that, yeah, Jupiter ascending. I was like, it's like, yeah, some movies aren't, you know, when you watch some movies, some movies definitely, they go or they flow what you don't expect. Basically, they're not what you expect sometimes. Yeah. And yeah. So, yeah, impressive. Yeah.
Well, and just quickly,
my favorite scene in that, Jerry, is this exactly that, the mockery of bureaucracy. In that movie, when she has to go through all the bureaucracy, I fucking piss my pants every time I see that part. Because it's so true.
And the robots bribing each other, that was pretty hilarious.
I know.
Just quickly, Jerry's put it doesn't have to be in the atmosphere, and no, you're right. It's just those signs are positive as attracting.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking more in the terms of a dielectric component to what if.
Well, but then the reason the only reason I actually said that was like, think about what a dielectric sensation might be. So like when you meet people or you have an interaction with an animal. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. So
it's that
I feel the energy of it. Yeah.
The point of no entropy. I'll mute.
Bye.
Yeah. That's it. Just cut him off.
If anybody wants to chat after, I guess you do whatever you do, D. It's like, I'm glad you seem to feel better than you did. You know what I mean?
I'm fucking still asleep. My brain is still on hold. I know I had a lot more to say tonight, and I just couldn't actually
But you did better than you thought you would. You actually, you hung in there for a while.
Darling. So I didn't sound like a bumbling fool when I was talking tonight, because that's what I felt like.
I didn't want to do shit. No, this was a very good chat, D. This was a very fucking.
I know. Well, I knew it would be. I was just trying to keep my brain cells going, because literally I've been so fucking brain numb since about 6 o'clock tonight. It was kind of terrible.
That's what we're going to do, NYL. Yeah, hopefully, if everybody wants to hang out.
I will make Star the host, and then those of us in Europe are going to go to bed. I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I know that Anne and Brianna are definitely going to join me, and Jenny. We're all got to go to bed, because seriously. Yeah, we are fucking wimps. It's midnight here. I'm already turning into a pumpkin, and I've been up since 6 o'clock in the morning doing computer work all day. So
that's funny. A pumpkin makes me think of the joke I had, the squash thing. You're gonna do the squash. It didn't come out. The joke went out the window badly, I guess.
Oh, Star, you're a riot. Okay. Well, to everyone out there in the live feed, we will see you Sunday night, and we're out of here for now.
Kakiteano.
I love you guys who going to sleep. Yeah, sweet dreams.
One small step for man.